What's up, everybody? Blake Martin here. I have had so many texts and Facebook messages and emails regarding my last video, and so I figured I would do an update video. There's a lot of new information, so I'm hoping that this will help. I've got the iPad again today because there is so much to get through. Obviously, everybody's biggest concern right now is their health and the health of everyone around them. But second to that, everybody's worried about their finances. So I'm going to kind of dive into those things today. Stimulus checks, the unemployment for both employees and for self-employed people, grants and loans like the EIDL and the PPP program, and much more. So before we get started, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Whether it's Killing the Points game or anything related to current topics such as this CARES Act, I plan to continue making these videos as long as you all keep watching them. Also, check out the Facebook group Killing the Points game. I'll put a link in the description. Almost everything that we're talking about in this channel and more is on the Facebook group, so check that out as well. Quick disclaimer before I get started. I am not a CPA or an accountant or a financial advisor. I have no licenses, so please see these videos as entertainment. I mean, they're meant to be informative, but if you need advice, seek professional advice. Do your own research and stay informed yourself on what is going on. I am doing my best to stay up on everything, and that's the purpose of these videos, is just to help you stay informed as well. Okay, starting with the stimulus checks. So this is the $1,200 that everyone has been talking about. That's $1,200 for any adult that makes $75,000 or less, or $2,400 for couples that make $150,000 or less. You slowly get phased out as the 75K gets to 100K as an independent person, or as a couple, as you get closer to about 200K, then you get phased out as well. As long as you qualify, you will also get $500 per child as well. So this is for people who have already set up direct deposit with the IRS. Banks are expecting a transmission from the Treasury Department today, April 10th, regarding direct deposits and how to process payments. Direct deposit payments are going to start going out Monday, April 13th, so clearing your bank on the 14th or 15th or so. Don't freak out if you don't get your payment right away. This is probably going to take some time. You know, they're saying that they want to get them out early next week, but let's just be real. There are billions of dollars going out, so it might take some time. By April 17th, the IRS is putting out a portal called the Get My Payment portal. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. It's a great page that is going to allow you to check your payment status of your stimulus checks, confirm payment types, whether it's direct deposit or check, paper check payments, allow you to enter your direct deposit information if you haven't already with the IRS. The portal also contains information for non-filers and people receiving Social Security or other benefits. Paper checks are going to start going out in late April, early May, but there's already predictions that these checks could take up to 6 months. So we're talking like as late as September. So I highly recommend that if you do have a bank account, or if you can quickly set up a bank account, make sure that you get your direct deposit information into the IRS. That way you can get your stimulus check as quickly as possible. Okay, moving on to unemployment. This is the second biggest topic that everyone is talking about. As of today, April 10th, the United States has seen 17 million new applicants for unemployment. I'm going to start with people who either are or were an employee of a company before this all started happening. If that's the case and you haven't already, I would urge you to go apply with your unemployment office now. Depending on your income and the amount of hardship that you've experienced, you will qualify up to your state maximum. In California, that's $450 a week. Plus, with this new Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, you will get an extra $600 per week. The CARES Act gives you 13 additional weeks on top of your state's maximum of the amount of weeks that you can get unemployment for. So here in California, it's usually 26 weeks. Now that has been upped to 39 weeks, or basically through the end of 2020. Make sure that when you apply from the week that you started hardship. There are potential retroactive payments, so it can't hurt to backdate when you started your hardship. They've also gotten rid of the waiting period for 1 week, so you should start getting payments starting with the week that you apply. However, it does typically take a few weeks for your first payment to be submitted. The extra $600 that the CARES Act through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program has added on top of unemployment is starting this week, the week of the 11th. These payments should be retroactive back to the week beginning in March 29th, ending in April 4th. So make sure that you backdate your payments as far as possible. That way you get that extra $600 for the week of March 29th through April 4th. The $600 payments go through July 31st. So now on to people that are self-employed and have been wondering, what do I do? Do I apply for unemployment? Do I not apply? I believe that the answer right now, as of the 10th of April, is that you have to wait. As of April 10th, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program page still states that they are waiting on new guidance. So it doesn't look like there's an application yet for self-employed people. Some states say that they will be ready by next week, the week of the 12th through the 18th of April, but in California, we have no word on a date yet. Supposedly, these payments will be able to be backdated to when you started your hardship. So it's looking like that's as far back as January 29th. So when you do get to apply, when that application is available, make sure that you put as far back as you had hardship and that you can prove hardship, because you may get back payments as far as January 27th. As a self-employed person, this is an unprecedented thing, getting unemployment benefits. But according to what the bill states, you should be able to get up to half of your state weekly maximum. So that depends on your income, plus the $600. So in California, we're looking at half of the $450 per week, which is the state maximum per week. So $225 plus the $600 that the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program adds. So as a self-employed person, you could qualify for up to $825 per week. It is in the bill, so don't worry, it is going to happen. As a self-employed person, I've talked to a lot of musicians here in LA that are worried about this. It is going to happen. It's in the bill, so just try to have patience. It will happen. When you do apply, whether you're employed or not employed, self-employed, you will have the option of having taxes removed. Those will be moved at a rate of 10%, and I would recommend that. You'd rather not have a burden later, but that is completely up to you. For those that live in California, I'm going to put links in the description to 3 different pages that have information on the EDDCA website, general information, the Workers Resource page, and the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance page for those self-employed. So there's another little thing that I've found this week that not too many people have talked about, that for self-employed people, this might be a good benefit. And it's basically a tax credit for sick leave. This is new as of the bill, and basically what I read is that if you're self-employed and you're not able to work, you can claim up to 10 days or 80 hours of sick leave as a federal tax credit. So this can help in reducing quarterly tax payments, and it can equate to as much as $5,110 in a refundable tax credit. So there's some calculators that you have to use in order to figure out how much you qualify for. It's based on how much you make. The way I see it, this actually is going to lower the amount that you are going to owe in taxes at the end of 2020. So basically, quarterly payments could be lowered now as well. But again, check with your tax professional. I will also put a link in the description to the IRS page that describes this federal tax credit. Okay, on to the SBA, EIDL, and PPP program. That's the Economic Injury Disaster Loans and the Paycheck Protection Program. There have been a lot of people that are really upset about this. There's 30 million small businesses in the United States, and a lot of people have applied, and nobody has gotten anything yet. As far as I know, nobody has gotten a $10,000 grant. Nobody's gotten any sort of funding yet. So these things are very slowly being rolled out. The SBA has been completely inundated, and they're just trying to keep up. According to the bill, businesses with 500 people or less, which also includes sole proprietors and independent contractors, anyone who's self-employed can apply for both the EIDL and the PPP. So the bill promised a $10,000 EIDL grant, and there was going to be a 3-day payment period, and basically none of that has happened. So it's understandable because there has been way more applications than the SBA has ever seen. So they're trying to play catch up, but it doesn't look like things are going to happen quite as we thought they were going to a week or two ago. The PPP seems like it's going to be the best option for people to get real money faster. With the Payment Protection Program, you can apply for up to $10 million. The loans are actually forgivable as long as you spend them on qualifying expenses: payroll, mortgage, rent, and utilities. However, 75% must be on payroll, and it doesn't cover anyone making over $100,000 per year. These loans are designed to cover your business for 8 weeks. So proving payments beyond 8 weeks, at least the way that things are stated now, looks like is not going to be possible. So forgiveness is only going to happen for those things that are paid for within the first 8 weeks. Self-employed people can determine their eligibility by calculating their net self-employed income up to $100,000 per year. You can apply for the PPP directly with banks or through approved lenders. You don't apply for this through the SBA directly. I will put a link below to the SBA page for the search tool to find lenders and banks that are approved to give out the PPP loans. Businesses were allowed to start applying for these loans as of April 3rd. However, sole proprietors and independent contractors are only able to apply as of today, April 10th. So as of April 10th, anyone who is a sole proprietor, small business of 500 or less, independent contractor, you're all free to apply now. The loans have a 1% interest rate, and there are no payments due for the first 6 months, and you have a total of 2 years to pay off any amount of the payment protection loan that you get that is not forgiven. So anything beyond that 8 weeks that you're still having to pay for, assuming the legislation doesn't change and that period is basically lengthened, if you do take out a loan that is above and beyond that amount that's forgiven, you'll have up to 2 years to pay it off. Be careful if you don't think that you're going to qualify for these loans to be forgiven. I would hate to see people take out big loans through this PPP program and not have them forgiven. The CARES Act only provided $349 billion for these programs. So if you do think that you will qualify, I recommend that you apply as soon as possible, because as soon as those funds have been exhausted, unless they approve more money, you may not be able to qualify. Okay, now moving on to the economic injury disaster loans. So these are the $10,000 grants that everybody was talking about. I mentioned them in my previous video. Everybody got hyped up about this. However, it seems as though the terms have changed. So first of all, you can apply for these loans directly through the SBA. I'm going to put a link in the description as well. You apply for these directly through the SBA, not through a lender or through a bank like you would the PPP program. These are direct through the SBA. The $10,000 grant is actually looking to be more like maybe a $1,000 grant per employee up to 10 employees. So if you're a business that has, say, 20 employees, you'll only get up to $10,000 of a grant for 10 of those employees. If you're a business like me that's only 1 employee, I'm not expecting anything more than $1,000 maybe. Anything above what you qualify for as a grant through the EIDL program is actually going to be coming in the form of a loan. Now these loans do have a much longer term than the PPP, up to 30 years, almost think like a mortgage. However, they're at 3.75% interest. Unless you're a nonprofit, then you can get them for 2.75. But for most of us, the EIDL loans would be at a 3.75% interest rate, which is much higher than the 1% interest rate that the PPP loans are given out as. So they are a little bit less desirable in terms of loans to float your business until you can get back to business. So unless you have expenses that are above what would be forgiven by the PPP program, or if you need more than 2 years to repay them, with the higher interest rate, I don't really see why anybody would take these loans. I guess only for specific businesses that might feel like they need a larger amount of money and they're willing to pay it over a longer period of time. But for most of us, I think that PPP is going to be a better program. Either way, it can't hurt to apply for the EIDL or the PPP. You may qualify, you may not, but it's worth applying. Even if you get offered something and you decide that it's not for you, you can just deny it. But especially if you look into actually taking some of these loans and you don't fully understand how they work, make sure that you seek professional advice. Okay, moving on to mortgage deferrals and forbearances. I've actually talked to quite a few people about this because quite a few people are having success in this. For example, like not having to pay their rent. As I see it now, it looks like lenders are offering a lot of their mortgage holders 90 days of either deferral or forbearance. Make sure that you check the terms on these, because for some of them, they're basically just saying, okay, you don't have to make payments for 3 months, but then you have to immediately pay us all 3 of those months plus your 4th month payment when you come back. So for most people, that's not going to work. Or they're tacking off a massive payment at the end of your mortgage, but not extending the term of your mortgage by those 3 months. As far as I see it, unless you're in a different financial position than most people, probably what you're looking for is basically to just have these 3 payments that they're going to forbear right now and have them just added on to the end of your loan as just 3 more equal payments. Any terms other than that, I probably wouldn't recommend that you take. As a renter, ask your landlord. Some landlords don't know that this is possible, and if they do apply for it and approved, they may transfer some or all of that onto you, and you may be able to pay less or even no rent for the next 3 months. So I already mentioned student loans in my previous video, but I want to make sure I mention it here just in case anybody didn't see the previous video. So these take effect as of March 13th. They only apply to federal loans and not private loans. Automatically, all payments and interest are suspended through September 30th. You can still make payments electively to your loans if you'd like. You will have to satisfy interest that is accrued on the account, but once you pay off that interest, you can be directly paying towards the principal of those loans. So if you are in a financial position right now to be able to put money towards your student loans, I see this as a great opportunity to really take big chunks of principal away and basically shorten the length of time that it's going to take you to pay off your student loans. Auto pay is automatically turned off, so you will have to go in and manually either turn back on auto pay or just have to submit one-time payments towards your loans. So lastly, charitable contributions. Again, I covered this in the last video, but I think it's worthwhile to mention again. The federal income tax deduction for charitable contributions has now been raised to 100% for this year. So you take your adjusted gross income, and technically this year you can write off up to 100% of your AGI with charitable contributions. It used to be 60%. I presume that it will go back to 60% after this year, or maybe in a couple of years, but that's just speculation. But for this year, you can deduct up to 100% of your adjusted gross income in charitable contributions. For those of us that don't plan on contributing 100% of our income to charities, we are able to help in a smaller way. They are giving us the availability to write off up to $300 as a charitable contribution as an above-the-line deduction on your taxes. So without having to itemize, without having to file a Schedule A, you are able to deduct an extra $300 on top of your standard deduction of $12,200. So if after you get your stimulus check and after you've gotten unemployment and after you've exhausted all of the potential loan or grant or forgiveness opportunities, things just still aren't covering your necessities and you have to move into your emergency fund, let's just make sure that we only pull out as necessary. Hopefully your emergency fund is in a high yield savings account, so we want to leave as much of that money in there as possible. So only take out as you need so that that rest of that money can continue to grow over time. I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again. Pulling out of investments, anything for retirement, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, anything like that, I think this should be a last resort right now. The new bill has made it easier to pull money out of these places, but especially with the state of the market right now, I think this should be our last resort. All right, that's it. I hope this information was useful. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Definitely comment on the video. If you've got comments or questions about this stuff, I think we can all learn together. Go check out the Facebook group, Killing the Points Game. Everything that I talk about here, I'm also posting about there, probably even more frequently in the group. I will put a link in the description as well to the Facebook group. Let's just all remember that we're all in a different place right now. Try to help anybody that you can. Stay safe, stay home, and be well.